Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 3 of our Do Good, Feel Good podcasts. So, these series are all about challenging the way we think about mental health and social impact. And we've got a very controversial thinker here with us today. We've got Andre from Conscious Community. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, if anyone who don't know, Conscious Community those crazy people who do the ice baths down on Bondi Beach and Randwick Beach, I believe, at sunrise. He does breath work, ice baths, sound healing, all for bringing people together, connecting people with themselves, the present moment, and the environment. And here we are talking about why we think suicide, anxiety, and depression are skyrocketing. So it is quite an emotional topic. We are not the professionals. We both just have a passion for mental health, and these are simply our beliefs. Feel free to please challenge us. We welcome challenge as long as it's done in a non-judgmental way. We hope this is help. We hope we add value, but ultimately this is our belief. So tune in, have a good time. Andre, before we get into all of that, I always like to start with the why. So why did you start Conscious Community in the first place?
Yeah, I started Conscious Community back in, it was the start of 2022, 1st of February, and I've been on a self-development journey. So I was a tennis coach, moved into Pilates, massage therapy, and these different things, and then came across breath work and community in the snowy mountains, and it had a profound impact on how I felt in my own mental health, in my life health. And I had a couple of friends from an instructor training in the Snowy Mountains that started up some breathwork and ice baths in Newcastle and DY, and I assisted them for a couple of weeks, and then thought that I could get out to Coogee and spread the benefits of getting up early in the morning, seeing the sunrise. The first couple of weeks that I did start, it was drizzly and the weather wasn't so good. But the benefits of the breath work and doing something that's a little bit uncomfortable, and knowing that doing hard things equals an easier life in the longer term, and then just catching up afterwards if people want to.
Yeah. So prior to the Snowy Mountains, were you experiencing mental health challenges? Were you on a journey to try and fix them, or what sort of led you down that journey?
Well, COVID was definitely a struggle. So I was a part of many different clubs, cycling club, ocean swim group, and I felt very disconnected from those groups because of my views, and I didn't feel like there was I could have a conversation with people. I felt like a bit of an outcast. So I lost connection with those communities
Your
myself.
Views. Was there one particular conversation or different view that sort of led to you being outcasted that you remember?
It was around the vaccine. And it was something that I found. I went down different rabbit holes, and I still have firm beliefs on how that all played out and how it's playing out at the moment as well. I think, look, there's different perceptions of, and people are allowed to have those different perceptions, but there wasn't. I didn't feel like there was a conversation around what was happening. It was just, this is the way.
Yeah. So is that potentially one of the reasons that we're seeing mental health challenges skyrocket, is people not accepting other people's differences? COVID vaccines, political views, spiritual views.
Definitely.
The world seems divided, right?
Divided is exactly what I was thinking about there. There's so much division going on in the world at the moment. And I think we're being divided by the powers that be. And I think humans actually do like each other and get along, but with all the different political topics and whatever else is going on.
So was there a period in our lives where you remember society not being so divided?
Before COVID it wasn't so.
Before COVID,
Well, that's trying to think. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Well, there's always there's always debate and that kind of stuff, but that was something that definitely, prior to that, I started listening to probably 5 years before. I went on an elimination diet, and that got me thinking a little bit more.
What's elimination diet?
I was just cutting out, so I went on more of a carnivorous kind of diet, and that got me thinking just about what I'd been brought up in, like around food and nutrition and that kind of thing. And yeah, so that kind of, it just got me curious. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, you essentially were surrounded by these little groups. You had a strong view, which everyone is allowed to have on certain topics. This topic was COVID vaccine, which a lot of people have strong views. That led to you being outcasted, led to you being rejected. So then that had certain mental health ramifications. Do you remember feeling isolated, lonely, and thinking I've got to tackle this journey alone? Or
yeah, definitely. Yeah. I definitely felt that I had to tackle it alone. Yeah, to a certain extent. That's where the breath work and finding some more like-minded people, and knowing that, and just to put it out there, I did get vaccinated. I didn't want to, and it's something I regret that I did do. I did it. I've now got to live with that, and yeah, I was lucky from that breathwork instructor training. I met some amazing people that are great friends to this day. And I had someone, and on my first training that took me under their wing, and that was so helpful. We've now gone separate ways, but yeah, that helped me so much because it was a struggle, and the help was just being able to connect with someone, exercise most days, get in the gym, just to be able to talk about different things. He had very strong views around the vaccine. But yeah, getting in the sauna, getting in the ice bars, I was still getting in the ocean as well. That's how I got into the ice bars. Essentially, was from ocean swimming. So I decided to swim throughout winter with no wetsuit and just gradually bigger swims, Wedding Cape Island, Maruga to Coogee, that kind of thing. So that's how I got into it.
Yeah, but question, exercise is not the magic pill. In Sydney, eastern suburbs and North Shore, we see thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people exercising all the time, often. And I'm a huge advocate for exercising, but it's not the single answer. Why do you think that is? I think Sydney's almost got to a point where we over-exercise. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know. I guess there is a thing called over-exercising. But what is your view? Exercise can certainly help, but is it the answer?
Yeah, exercise. My views have changed on this. Going back to, so I had like that mentor. He took me under his wing. We were training a lot, and I looked really good, but I wasn't healthy. My posture wasn't great. My breathing wasn't great. I got to a point where, yeah, aesthetically I looked good. I had a six pack, and I was feeling confident in a sense like that, but in a way not. Yeah, well, it's I've heard of this term like looks maxing, and it's like you get to a point where, well, you get to that stage where you look great and whatnot, but then from there, what's next? It's like either for me, I burnt myself out. I was spending way too much time indoors as well. Yeah, and my sleep was really poor, and that's where the breath work came in, because that goes into anxiety. That goes into not feeling so good waking up in the morning. Because if we're just over breathing that little bit in our sleep, snoring, sleep apnea, okay, we're in that aroused state. We're going to be waking up in the middle of the night. We're going to, perhaps if we're mouth breathing, we're going to be waking up with a dry mouth. We're just not getting that quality of sleep. We're feeling fatigued when we get up. It's not good. And the body's just having to compensate. It's the foundation of everything.
Do you use mouth tape? I just finished the book Breath for anyone who's read it. Unbelievable. Have you read it?
Yeah.
Which is all about nose breathing. And he uses mouth tape to essentially shut your mouth. It's just a little bit of Band-Aid, which you use when you sleep, forces your body to breathe through your nose. Have you ever used that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was from the book Breath, that I started looking into more breath work and breathing exercises, and also mouth taping.
Yeah.
And mouth taping's great, but it's not for everyone. Like if you have a compromised airway, like nasal passage or sleep apnea, I wouldn't recommend mouth taping because it can be. I mean, yes, we want to be breathing in and out of our nose, but for example, I was a pretty bad nasal snorer. So it will stop mouth snoring, but it won't exactly stop nasal snoring. So we do actually potentially have to focus on improving our breathing.
Yeah, well, the book says that I just finished, the perfect breath, and correct me if I'm wrong, is 5.5 seconds in through your nose and 5.5 seconds out through your nose. So that's so interesting about this exercise concept, because I assume, and myself included, a lot of people exercise for this looking good component. But you've experienced it, that there's obviously something still missing, and there's something more to than just looking good. Outside of going down the breathwork path and understanding the importance that breathwork can have, is there anything else within the exercise industry that potentially people who have reached their peak of looking good should think about changing up, or any tips around, the variety of exercise, for example?
Personally, what I'm doing at the moment, and it's working well, is I'm getting back to learning how to stand properly, to walk, and to run.
Yeah.
Right. So getting back to more so, it's functional patterns, and I'm someone that's going in and getting sessions, but it makes the most sense to me, because the principles are around that. It's about getting out into nature as well, getting plenty of sunlight, seeing sunrise, that kind of thing. Yeah, getting back to more human movement and not moving so much. I'm actually training so much less. I'm doing 3 to 4 hours of training intentionally with what I'm doing, and I feel great. Yeah, I feel so much better. I've still got a long way to go. This is a process. It's going to be, I plan to be doing this for, as long as I can.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm a huge believer in balance. Too many apples will be bad for you. Too much booze, bad for you. Too much running, bad for you. Little bits of everything in the right moderation that suits your mind, your body, is, I think, the perfect way. Because ultimately we're here to discuss why we think mental health challenges are heading in the wrong direction. This is potentially one of them. We're over-exercising our physical bodies in the same one category, let's call it weightlifting, too much, where we're reaching that plateau. So potentially, if this is resonating with anyone, have a think about your potential physical exercise routine.
For sure. Like why was I doing that? Why was I doing that exercise? All right, I wanted to look good to find a mate or whatever else. Or is it really going to benefit me in the long term? Even the short term. But it comes back to so social media. Going into social media, there's so much grifting that's going on within social media at the moment as well. There's a whole lot of crap. There's some really good stuff. If you can find it. You've got to be willing to find it. I mean, so many people are getting stuck just in artificial light, right? Where in an office, at home, in that artificial light, we need to be getting out into nature more. 100%.
So is that potentially another big challenge, which is causing mental health challenges, artificial light?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So what's artificial light? Anything that's not the sun?
Yeah, so look, I'm I'd
Check all our
recommend-
definitions,
yeah,
by the way.
I'd recommend people have a look at Carrie B Wellness on Instagram. She has some really good content in like quantum biology and that kind of thing, and also Dr. Jack Cruz. Go down those routes if you're interested in that.
Yeah.
So basically, the hierarchy of needs, we're wanting light, so getting up in the morning, seeing the sunrise, even if there's no sunrise, the brain will detect the light coming through. And then right now, I'm following on an app called DMinder Pro, and it gives me a window with my skin type of how much sun exposure I can get, and it's fantastic. So it's around right now from about 10:30 to 1:30.
Based on your personal skin type.
Yeah, like to a
Right.
certain, yeah. And so I don't burn. Because another topic is going into sunscreen and that kind of stuff. Like, we need to be getting out into the sun. Obviously, we don't want to be getting sunburned, but what would animals do, right? They would go to the shade. All right? We are animals.
I haven't even thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do. So I try to each day, if I'm not inside at work, I'll try to get outside in between that 10:30 to 1:30, get my shirt off, just have my shorts on, 35 minutes on each side of my body. So I'm building that solar callus. I'm getting my vitamin D, my melanin. So then come summertime, should have a good tan.
But I feel like most people on this planet know that. If you stop a random on the street and go, hey man, what's good for your mental health? They will say sleep, good food, exercise, and sunshine. Yeah? 9 times out of 10, you'll probably...
Do you reckon they would?
I think so.
Yeah.
We should test it.
Well, I don't think this is the other issue.
Well, sorry,
I don't
know.
think people aren't thinking for themselves. They're being told that the sun is bad. The sun is being blocked. Put loads of sunscreen on.
Yeah. Well, that's
Block the sun.
That's interesting, because my question was going to be, I feel like people know that these basic things are good for you, but still don't do it. Why don't they do it? By the sounds of it, it's because we're getting fed negative reasons or told what to do, and it could come back to Australia being a nanny state.
Look, that was me at the end of last year. I was busy doing the breath and ice sessions down at the beach, and I burnt myself out big time. Right, so I was getting up at 3:30 in the morning, and heading down to the beach. I'd had a coffee beforehand. That's another thing. Like, coffee is totally overused. I think I was overusing it.
How many coffees were you having a day?
Probably two to three.
Okay, yeah.
So get down to the beach, finish the sessions, like catch up with the crew, have another coffee, and then I'd go home, and I'd be inside and I'd just be scrolling, and I'd end up, I was just in that artificial light, but that just put me on this downward spiral. Ended up with vertigo just from overworking to a certain extent.
What's vertigo again, where you don't have your balance?
In the ear, the crystals within the ear.
And you got that through stress?
I think it was from, it was basically it was stress. So I was totally just, and then combining that potentially with doing ice baths as well, another stressor on top of that, not getting good quality sleep. Okay. Now, was I suicidal? No. Okay. This was an up and down. I know how to get out of these things.
Get out of what things? Spiral.
Hitting a spiral of just that feeling.
Is it negativity or just that
negativity.
feeling
of
hopelessness?
Just being sick. Yeah, hopelessness. Going like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm just crushing
How
myself.
do you
My nervous system was totally out of whack.
How did you get out of that when you experienced, let's call it...
I needed to slow down.
Yeah.
I needed to get out into nature more. Think about how I was actually moving rather than going to the gym and just doing... And look, go out and do strength and conditioning, but for me at that time, it wasn't beneficial. I needed to slow down. I needed to go and then see. I was seeing a chiro at that point as well, doing those kind of things. I'm fortunate to have people that I can call up. I have a good group of friends. Western Australia here but I can call them up and have a good chat.
But I think the first step to that is the awareness piece. If people are continuously busy, continuously overstimulated, which is one reason why I don't like technology, which we'll get into, but you don't have the ability to slow down and ask yourself, ask your own mind, how am I doing? This person I can't remember gave me a great analogy, is the mind is like the perfect answering machine. You ask it, what's wrong with me? You're going to get 20 questions straight away with 20 things, what's wrong with you? Why am I single? You're going to get all the reasons. But on the flip side, you ask it the right questions, you'll get the right answers. It may take a bit more time. What brings me joy? What brings me happiness? Why am I feeling like this? Am I overworked? So I think the very first step, if people are sort of going down that negative mindset or spiraling journey, slow down. And that's why meditation is so good. That's why alone time or going for walks in nature is so good. It gives your body and your mind the ability to answer the question, how am I doing? You were obviously aware of that and you could see yourself heading in that direction. So what did you do to change the direction? Was it just nature walks and was it slowing down?
Yeah, we definitely slowing down.
Slowing down.
Yeah, getting vertigo. I was out for a good week, and then it took me probably a month to fully recover from that.
Yeah.
So it made me slow down the sessions, have that awareness, and really just kind of take a step back and go, okay, is this sustainable?
Yeah.
With what I'm doing?
Yeah.
What can I change? What have I been doing? What can I change?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So essentially, overstimulation, overwork. One thing I want to dig deeper in, you mentioned the concept of, I guess, news or people telling you the sun's bad for you. I personally don't watch any of the news. I think if it's important enough, my friends and family will tell me. What's your take on news?
Yeah, I've cut a lot of the news out. I definitely just keep an open ear, just to know what's going on a little. But I've definitely cut out most of the news.
Because again, I think everyone knows that news is negative. Negativity news sells. Positive news don't sell. Again, I think most people are aware of that, but still watch the news. Why? If we cut out the news, can the world live on? I don't know. I personally think it could. But think about all media. It is all fueling the different arguments. You're either left or right, yes or no. I feel like this middle state of, not so much undecided, but the middle ground where we can still get along. We don't have to kill one another. You can have your views, I can have my views, and we can still be friends, family, neighbors, patrons, humans.
I mean, look at Israel Palestine. Like it's so dividing, isn't it? I mean, it's shocking.
Yeah, division, which is where this entire story started from. He was divided from his initial run group, which has sent him on this wellness journey, which is fabulous. But I think that comes to the concept of anyone who's read the 4 agreements. It's do not judge others. Please read this book. If every single human on this planet read this book, it would be an insanely good planet. The 4 agreements is, do not take anything personally, do not judge others, be impeccable with your word, and always try your best. But mainly don't take anything personally. A lot of times, especially in relationships or your friends, when a lot of people, your boss, give you a lot of this grief or whatever energy, it's essentially put a mirror up and they just needed the opportunity to vent or to get it out, or they're dealing with some potential insecurities, and it's 9 times out of 10 got actually nothing to do with you. Obviously there's certain circumstances within that, but this do not judge others part. Back to this division, it obviously helps solve division because we don't know what other people are going through, what mental health they're experiencing. Your partner, your work colleague can come in and say, a snipey comment, which you may ride them and say they might be having a fucking terrible day. So we just don't know. And who are we to judge anyone? The clothes, the looks, their beliefs, their views. So I think do not judge others can help with this division element.
Going to suicide, because we've had this conversation. I've had this conversation with some of my close mates as well. So we've had friends that have taken their lives, and So I asked the question, like, why is it with all the foundations, the charities that we do have, that people still are taking their lives? And yeah, I don't know. I just asked the question, like, getting people's views on it.
Yeah,
because it is controversial. It's controversial. I think there was an AFL footballer recently in WA that took his life, and there was a headline around like there wasn't support. I was like, but there's plenty of there's so much awareness. Is it potentially it's just that person's time? Maybe. Like,
yeah. Well, my take on it is a lot of the support and charities and resources that we have, and no discredit to any of them, they're all very welcome and very needed, but they're reactive solutions. Lifeline, prime example, there are hundreds of thousands of people ringing when they already are suffering from loneliness or suicidal thoughts. So my mind goes to, how do we prevent suicidal, anxiety, loneliness thoughts? I don't know if you've seen the World Health Organization earlier this year released the Global Happiness Report. And in the first year when they've been measuring it, the global happiness score, I think it was about 20 or 30 years. Try and guess which year, the first time that global happiness started to decrease. Which year was it?
Which year?
Yeah, it's early 2000s.
2007.
Yeah, why? What major event along with it did global happiness start decreasing?
Oh, what's I've got no idea.
Social media.
Yes, social media. Yeah.
Social media. It was the first time social media became widely adopted. I think about 70% of America was using social media, and this was the first time in 30 years since this report, human happiness began to decrease.
Yeah, wow.
Why? Yeah, it's a no-brainer, in my opinion. Yes, there is a lot of good content for social media, but whatever the percentage is, I'm just going to call it 90%. In my belief, that social media is used negatively. Why? Comparison is the thief of joy. Instagram gives billions of people on this planet the instant second to compare their lives to other people's lives. So instead of loving this view, this conversation, this palm tree, if I was on Instagram, I'd probably see a photo of Tahiti. I'm like, fuck, why aren't I in Tahiti? This life, this moment, this beautiful thing that I'm experiencing with Andre, compared to Tahiti, gone out the window. So I think why suicides and depression and mental health challenges is directly related to social media.
And you saying that, when you ask me the question, like, do I look at media? Well, obviously I do, because I'm on my phone. The conscious community has an Instagram profile, and I have to go through. Well, I don't have to, but it's something I need to be better at. Yeah. So I am. That's media. That's media content as well.
It's interesting. I challenge everyone to think about the media diet. When we think of our food diet, we all know greens and fruit and veg is great for our bodies. We all know water and juice is good for us. But it's like, why does no one think about their media diet? What we consume on social media and the news directly impacts our minds. A lot of people try to use social media for positive content, aspirational, inspirational content, 100%. But I encourage you to just try and be aware of that, try and stick to that. A girlfriend of mine was telling me that that's why she started an Instagram account 3 or 4 years ago, and now the algorithm took over, and now she's back to other content. And so that's my belief. But I know we've heard another story, and I don't know his name, but the strong yoga instructor, the yogi community member who committed suicide, I believe it was last year. Strong yoga. Is the yoga instructor here in Sydney. It rocks the yogi community.
Was it meditation?
Oh, the meditation. Sorry, my apologies. The meditation guru, and a lot of people spread the importance of meditation, but here, again, meditation is not.
Well, had community as well. Was a part of the Surf Life Saving Club. Had a family. Did depression take hold? But it just shows. that you can have all of those things and people are still taking their lives.
So why? And sorry for not knowing his name or more of the story, but why? You know, this is a soul with community, with meditation, with an awareness of mental health. You know, maybe it's just something that we as humans can't even comprehend or
It's
understand.
going into a dark hole. I was talking to a friend. We did a mental health program together, and really, really good program. Learned many different tools down at the beach at Bondi. And we were just talking, having a similar discussion, conversation. And he said, Andre, he has a young family. He has a medical condition. He has brain cancer. And he said, just think, you know, you're struggling in your relationship. Financially, you're struggling as well. Everything's just narrowing in, and you just don't feel like there's a way out. And that made me open my mind a little bit more and go, yeah, okay. Because I'm young. I have, like right now, I have good health. I've got both of my parents. I've got two brothers that I can call. I've got friends I can call on. I've got a great housemate. I have all of these things. I'm not in financial stress. I am fortunate. So, yeah, I can understand you come to that point, potentially.
Yeah. You know, so then how would you think we prevent, you know, is there a way to prevent suicidal thoughts, or do we need to just spread more of the message of be aware of it, which is the power of meditation, be aware of it so then you know how to navigate it? Or is there a way that humans can potentially prevent suicidal thoughts altogether? You know, that's a question.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it's chasing a little bit like social media. It's looking at what other people are doing and trying to, whether it need more money, need that house. It's like less is more.
Yeah. Have you read the book Essentialism?
No.
Yeah, awesome. It's essentially less but better. And just look at your wardrobe. You know, how much stuff in your wardrobe do you wear? You know, you wear the same favorite jacket over and over again in winter. You know, buy a good jacket that you love and just repeat that. Same with, you know, a lot of elements to life. You know, sort of repeating what we've covered, because essentially we want to discuss ways to prevent or improve mental health. The very first point was the amount of division in today's world. You know, I very much agree that we need to be more connected. We are neighbours, so you know, let's try and live this judgment-free manner so we can all have that community.
Definitely doing good. No.
Well, that's where we come into place. And then how did you and I met? We did our first, I came obviously down to the Conscious Community events, and then Andre helped us with our Connected AU program, where we run sound healing, breath work, and write letters to lonely folks across Australia through our Connected AU partnership, who are a great charity doing great things. We're going to start doing that event monthly. So if any of this interests you, there'll be information after.
Definitely. No, I was down at the beach yesterday, did my daily dip in the ocean late afternoon, and people have been doing this for a long time, but there was some rubbish on the beach. You know, picked 10 pieces up, put it in the bin, felt good just doing that small bit of service.
Yeah. So then when you think about your life, or just potentially tips to anyone listening, what tips would you have to essentially prevent mental health challenges or ensure your mental health is thriving?
For me right now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying not to miss a sunrise. I'm trying to get up every morning and get down to the beach, or just to be able to view the first light. Get out in the sun in the middle of the day, get the shirt off, do my functional patterns, connect with that community.
What's functional patterns?
That's just a training method. It's basically, so the philosophy is around getting back to the blueprint of human movement, which is standing, walking, running, and throwing.
What do you do for throwing? You don't go and do shot put somewhere, do you?
No, so you do different. So the body has different fascial slings, muscular slings that you train.
Yeah.
So you might be holding.
What exercise do you do for throwing?
You could be holding a mace or something like that, or you could be holding onto a medicine ball. So getting the different lines of the body, because that's essentially how we have moved over time.
Yeah.
It's like we're going away from that.
Yeah.
A lot of people are just going through a cycle of being, training, getting injured, going and seeing physios, osteos, and then it's just doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And then that has an effect on mental health.
Yeah.
And then they're having to take, drugs and whatever else because they're in pain.
Yeah.
And it's just a cycle. So for me, it's light. Light is huge. That's something I'm really trying to work on.
Yeah.
Which is then going to help me with my sleep. So it's basically light and dark. So see the sun set and then try to be in darkness.
Yeah.
Not perfect, but blue light blockers, those kind of things do help.
Yeah.
It's that low hanging fruit kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Quality water is a big one as well.
Boom. Lisa, our co-founder, loves the conspiracy about how all Sydney drinking water from the tap is shocking. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree.
Love it.
It's dead.
This is filtered, I believe. I hope.
Yeah, it's kind of, some professionals would say it's not I don't remember the name of it, but there's a couple like reverse osmosis, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. I drink San Pellegrino.
Yeah.
Has the minerals and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's better stuff, but I think water is so light, water above exercise, and that kind of stuff. Yeah, even above nutrition. If the light's not right, if we're not getting the sufficient light, then nutrition doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think living in a balanced manner, sit down and ask yourself the question, what am I doing too much of? Is it too much work? Is it too much drinking? Is it too much exercise? Review that. Awareness is the first step towards change. So I'm hoping this conversation and just some of the tips and some of the stories we shared have given you the ability to think about, potentially what any of you listening are going through. In my viewpoint, I'm very, very lucky that I have always had a, positive mental health experience. And how I go about achieving that is essentially living balance, do not judge others, eating healthy, sleeping well, living in the present moment is a huge one. A lot of these I've got tattooed on my body for people who've seen me naked or whatever it may be. But breath work and meditation to live in the present moment. How many times do we sit there? I think on average we have about 80,000 thoughts a day pass through our minds. So is your mind's autopilot helping you or harming you? And that's when we start to have conversations with ourselves. The future conversation with my pay rise, with my boss, is going to be a nightmare. We sit on that for a week and that causes anxiety. Or we replay stuff that happened in the past. Sure, let's learn from them. But let's not dwell on them. Ultimately, the present moment is the only moment we can control. How do you get present? Breathwork is a very good way to become present. So I think it's just a combination of all these things that we have spoken about should ultimately help, because Andre, I, Lisa, everyone, we want our good humans. We want each other to thrive. Ultimately that comes down to not judging other people in the first place.
And there is nuance to this. Like, breath work isn't the savior.
Yeah.
It can help, but there's definitely nuance to even meditation. We hear so much, it's just like, it's just all good. Well, no, it's not. There's nuance to it.
Well, that's why I think the combination, just meditating, not good. Just doing breath work, obviously potentially better good than, but, working out what that combination of all these different things. I even say drinking alcohol and recreational drug use, which might actually shock a lot of people. I speak to a few holistic coaches out there, and a lot of them don't drink booze, but I honestly think whatever that percent is, 5%, 10%, we do need blowouts with your mates or whatever you want to call it. It is a stress, and it just works for me. So I do also encourage people to not just, stay away from booze and things like that, because I think they do play a role. If, it obviously suits you and your mental health, I think it's very important. There's no one size fits all. This is my life and my viewpoint. This is obviously Andre's and his viewpoint. So one final tip for the listeners to think and walk away from this episode about how to improve their well-being? Sunshine?
Yeah, I would say it's sunshine. Don't miss a sunrise.
Boom.
That's my goal, just to be up every morning.
Yeah.
Just stick to it.
Yeah.
Be consistent.
Yeah. And with that, take a mate. It's always easier to set a commitment with a partner or a friend. You have a higher chance of, delivering on that. But we have Andre a hat for helping out the community. We hope this has been useful. Again, these are designed to help you, so please send us any comments or information on what you want to hear or ways we can improve it. Feel free to challenge anything we said. This is just our viewpoints. But ultimately, our entire purpose is just to do good, feel good. We're going to be doing way more community events with Conscious Community. At the end of this episode, whenever you watch it the next day, go and watch the sunrise, because we know for a fact it will improve your mental health.
100%.
Boom. Andre, my man, thank you for coming.
Thanks, Chris.
Love it. That's us out.